Tape www.suividecolosénégal.com. À École au Sénégal, c'est facile, tu n'as qu'à te connecter. Tape École au Sénégal, les leçons sont beaucoup plus détaillées.
Would rather, had rather. What's the difference with would rather or had rather? Would, already we know it's a modal. Would rather or had rather. With would rather, there are two rules. The first one is if you're using would rather, it's oftentimes that you want to make a decision between two things and you have to use the word than. With rather, you have two options and you want to pick one. Oftentimes, would rather is much more about deciding which way to go to within or between two objects or two subjects or two actions, whatever it is you want to decide. For example, I would rather watch a movie than watch a football. I would rather go home than going out tonight. So you have two options, but you personally want to decide. It's much more a personal choice within two options, and you have two options, but you have to use the word than between these two actions. The second one is you are trying to let someone know. It's more about you, the person, trying to tell someone what you prefer to be done, what you prefer that person to do. It's much more about the other person. I would rather you stepped out. I would rather you be quiet. I would rather prefer you sat over here. So it's about me telling you what I prefer that you do. Whereas the first one is about me picking out what I like. So I've been using the word than, and that is effectively what I wrote here. Would rather, it's often used with than, with two verbs or two objects when making a choice between two actions. There's an S. For example, I would rather watch a movie than football. I would rather go out with Paul than Peter. What about had rather? Had rather is much more, it's much more strong. It's like advising you to do something. Had rather is telling you to either pick something, but which is trying to prevent a negative end or a negative reaction. So it's looking at a negative end of it, or a contrary end, and telling you to pick one. For example, you had better not tell Susan about the stolen bag or about the stolen money. Why? Because probably you're thinking that Susan might probably react negatively. So, had rather, it's more about giving advice. It's more about telling the other person what you want that person to do in order to defend, in order to prevent a negative end or a negative reaction. That is had. It's often referred in a present or future situation. That's a present or future situation because you're looking at the future, but you're talking about it in the present, wherein a person is told what to do or not. I am telling you and advising you what to do. So it's much more stronger. You had better not tell Paula about the stolen money. You had rather not tell Paul. I would prefer you don't tell Paul. So you had rather not tell Paul. You had rather not go there. So it could be better, or it could be rather. And oftentimes, there's a not there. I'll rather stay home than go out and cause trouble. You had rather, I'd rather stay home. So it's much more preventing a negative, and that's the difference between would rather and had rather. Would rather is having an option. The first one is about me, and the second one is about me telling the other person what the person ought not to or ought to do. Whereas had better or had rather is about preventing. It's much more stronger. It's about preventing something negative. It's about either the present or the future. Whereas with would rather, the first part is if you're having to talk about two things, it's better to use than. Because when you use than, it's about comparing two things. So it's important that you know that. Good? Elisions. Elisions. What are elisions? It's simple. Elisions is just omission of certain words or certain letters in a phrase. You know, it's often used either to speak faster or to shorten certain words. Most often you hear them with Americans with the accent. Sometimes the kind of shorten your words, and so it's omission of the pronunciation of certain letters in a sentence or in a paragraph. That is elision. It's simple. You skip certain words just to maybe because you want to shorten the word or because you want to speak faster. And for example, oftentimes we hear kinda, elisions. Like I said, elisions are omissions. Elisions are omissions of words, you know. Elisions are omissions of letters, or words. You shorten them. Omission of words. It's been shortened. You know, it's been shortened. It's been shortened. It's been shortened or summarized or cut off. Summarized. Or sometimes it's been cut off. It's been cut off. Why? Because you want to make it simpler, faster, quicker. You know, and examples of some of these omissions, you can have like, instead of saying kind of, yeah, most people say kinda, including me. Instead of saying sort of, yeah, sorta. Instead of saying must have, yeah, musta. So sometimes some of the words are being cut off, like fish and dip. For example, we have fish and dip. But sometimes in a written form, you're gonna see fish, N, the letter N, just, and dip. See, there's an omission. There's an omission. There's an omission. So these are some of the examples of elision. Elision means you just shorten the words. You reduce the words. You take off certain letters, certain pronunciations, so you'll just be easier. It's much more colloquial. You cannot use elisions in a formal setting, please. The words have to be pronounced, you know? So elisions are just informal. They're just day-to-day friendly usage that you can probably use with your friends. It's important, or people comfortable. It's important that you know it. It's just a shortening. You're just omitting something. Elisions, oh, kind of, sort of. I don't know what are some of the other elisions that you know out there. Go get them, go investigate, go do your research so you can use some of the elisions. Out of here, like out of. You know, you say get out of here. I got. You say gotcha. Gotcha. Instead of saying, oh, I got you. I got you. I got what you're doing. Out of. Out of. Whereas it's out of. Get out of here. For example, the boy is tall. Or you can say, for example, the train is, and you can say, to shorten it, the trains. See, the S, it's been shortened. They are, you can say, they are, but you want to shorten it, they are. The A is no longer there. So it's been shortened. Something has been omitted. Omission of a letter, omission of letters, omission of words. So they are, there. There is, there's. So there is. You can say there's. That's an omission, and so the pronunciation becomes different. But all the elisions, like I said, are often used for informal. So you need to know that's often for informal. I hope that you've learned. I hope that you go do your research. And please come back to me if you have questions. Write to me. I'm Teacher Raisa. I'll be glad to go further. Thank you.
jaaratul kër ba sonn mën nga jàng léegi te doo bouger doo fay weer nga élève te toll ci examen li nga soxla am na fi te mu gën